Sheila Dillon, take your seat. Come on, we're on a tight schedule. The mayor's here. We need to get going. All right, the mayor has sat down, so everybody else should sit down. All right, we need to get going. Everybody, welcome. My name is Sam Tyler, president of the Boston Municipal Research Bureau. Shh. Thank you. Let me start over. My name is Sam Tyler, president of the Boston Municipal Research Bureau, and I welcome you all to the Research Bureau's annual meeting as we celebrate our 85th anniversary. Now, please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Thank you. Now, the annual meeting luncheon with the mayor is always exciting because of the great mix of business, government, political, institutional leaders who attend. And I'd like to acknowledge a few individuals and officials who are with us today. I'd like to start with the mayor's first advisor, Lori Higgins. Lori, it's great to have you here. Now, many of the mayor's senior team is here, sort of the executive branch, the cabinet office, department heads, other senior officials. If I were to name them, it would be about 20 minutes before I begin. So I will just ask the mayor's team to stand and to be recognized. Also, on the legislative side of the city council, with us today are the at-large members, Michelle Wu, the president, Michael Flaherty, Anissa Azabi-George, and Ayanna Plessley. Also, by district, in order of district, Sal Lamatina, Bill Linehan, Frank Baker, Andrea Campbell, Tim McCarthy, Matt O'Malley, Tito Jackson, and Mark Siomo. If you would stand to be recognized. Now I want to give special thanks to President Michelle Wu and the other members of the City Council because they agreed to postpone their meeting today until 2 o'clock so that they could all be here. And for that, we are very grateful. From the school committee, we're pleased that Michael O'Neill, the chairperson of the school committee, is here, along with chairman or other members, Michael Lecanto and Dr. Miriam Uriante. So thank you for being here. From the thank you. From the state legislature, we're pleased that Representative Aaron Michaelitz from the 3rd Suffolk District is once again joined us. Also, again, our former city councilor, current Suffolk County District Attorney, Dan Conley, is here. A former Research Bureau Director in another life, but now the Director of Massport, Tom Glenn. We also have a sort of educational component of college presidents, so happy that our own director and Chancellor of UMass Boston, Keith Motley, is with us. I got 3 more. So also pleased that Robert Lamb, who is the chairman of the Board of Trustees at Suffolk University, and Marissa Kelly, the acting president of Suffolk University, are here, as is Michael Taylor, president of the Urban College of Boston. I'm sorry. Just informed that Kevin Honan is here also, Representative Honan. Thank you. Also a former Research Bureau Director when he was the managing partner of Foley Hoag, and former ambassador to Norway, Barry White, is with us. So the last point I'll make is that the Research Bureau is one of several business-sponsored organizations that has a primary focus on Boston or Greater Boston, and the professional heads of those organizations get together periodically to compare notes and see if there's ways that we can collaborate. So I'm pleased that joining us today also are Jim Rooney from the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, Greg Vassell from the Greater Boston Real Estate Board, Rosemary Sansone from Downtown Boston BID, Meg Mainzer-Cohen, Back Bay Association, Rick Domino from ABC, Neil Sullivan from the Boston Private Industry Council, and Jay Walsh, Downtown North Association. So glad you could join us. And now we will break for lunch. We'll break for lunch and be back in a while. Thank you. We're at an exciting time for the Research Bureau as we created a new position of Vice President of Policy and Research. We're finishing work on a 5-year business plan that's going to enable us to build for the future for our success over the past, continuing the past 85 years, and we're celebrating our 85th anniversary. The Research Bureau plays a unique role in Boston as an independent organization that provides an objective, analytical, fact-based perspective to the finance policy choices that are made in Boston. I was going to talk to you about what we achieved in 2016, but then the mayor wouldn't have any time to speak, so I'll just limit it to we had 2 questions on the November ballot. Question 2 about the charter cap, and question 5 on the CPA. In both cases, the Research Bureau issued reports, objective, fact-based reports to explain and make sure people understood, correct misunderstandings with both, and both became part of the dialogue in the discussion about those questions. We issued a report on the teacher's contract, and we identified 7 bold reforms that we hope will be in that contract, and it's still under negotiation. We supported an initiative in the school department to ensure that quality teachers would be hired. It's a controversial, costly project, but it's being supported by the mayor and the school committee because it will make a big difference in the student achievement, and there needs to be more change to make that work. The normal financial management issues we covered. For this next year, in 2017, we'll stay with the core financial management issues. The CPA is passed, but now is the implementation. We're going to be engaged in how is the city going to implement the CPA? What's the process that will be used? The mayor is going to talk about Build BPS, a very comprehensive, ambitious project that will have implications for the capital budget. We'll be following that very closely as well. I don't know if you know, but there's a race for mayor and city council this year, so we'll be engaged as we have been in the past. Development, transportation, housing production, those will be issues that we will be engaged in as well. I want to take this moment just also to thank the directors of the Research Bureau for their active involvement in the Bureau. That certainly made a big difference in our selection for the Vice President and the strategic planning process. Also thank our staff for a small in number, but we accomplished a lot. So special thanks to Elaine Beatty and Diane Smith. Thank you. And now it's the time for me to introduce Matthew Kiefer, our outgoing chair. This is a transition year for us where Matthew has served as chairman for the last 3 years. He's the director at the law firm of Goulston and Storrs, focusing on real estate development and land use. And when thinking about how much we've accomplished organizationally as well as programmatically with the Research Bureau, we really owe Matthew a huge debt of thanks for the leadership he provided, for the time commitment that he made to the Research Bureau. And we're pleased that he's going to stay on our executive committee as well as co-chair with Jim Tierney of JLL, our Economic Development Committee. So with that, I welcome Matthew to the stand, or the podium.
You didn't tell me about that, Sam. Staying on the executive committee. Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. And thank you, Sam, for that introduction. I would just say it's really been an honor to have chaired the Research Bureau for the last 3 years. It's been an eventful time for the Bureau and also for the city. Sam mentioned Elaine and Diane. This is sort of a special moment for Diane. Diane Smith, the office manager. That title doesn't really capture what Diane does. She keeps the trains running on time, in more ways than you can imagine. And Diane has announced that she's going to retire in June after 31 years. So thank you. Diane, where are you, Diane? She certainly deserves at least 2 rounds of applause. There we go. I want to recognize the second person who's played a special role. At our business meeting a short time ago, Robert Beal was made a director emeritus. He is now in the Pantheon with only 3 others who have that status as directors emeritus. He's retired from our board after 39 years on the board. And during that period of time, he's done pretty much everything. He's on the executive committee for a number of years. He had a term as chair. He recently chaired the Economic Development Committee, and he was a city champion in 2002. So I want to thank Robert for his many years of service. There he is in the back of the room, and his deep commitment to the Research Bureau. So if you care about the city, and of course you do, that's why you're here today, you know that the Research Bureau, our whole focus and purpose is to help city government be successful. We've been doing it for 85 years. Longevity is good, but it's also good to take a fresh look at yourself every now and again, and we've been able to do that this year with the generosity of the Barr Foundation that Sam mentioned. We've done a business plan that's taught us a lot. It's taught us the value of our work. We hear about that from all the people we spoke to who said, don't lose what you already do. But we've also learned about some ways that we might expand our focus. And we do have some increased capacity. Sam mentioned we've hired Pam Coker as Vice President of Policy and Research. And we've also built our membership in the last couple of years. So we're looking to increase our capacity to do research on new issues facing the city, to engage our members in new ways, and to communicate about what we do in new ways. So stay tuned for more on that. I've been really lucky to do this at a time of change in our city. I began doing this at the same time that you began, Mayor. Your term is going to last a little longer, maybe a lot longer. But this is my last time up here. There was a peaceful transfer of power about an hour ago to my successor, Tom Samoluk, who I'm going to introduce in a moment. I'm proud to say that we've established a great working relationship with the Walsh administration, who are bringing new approaches to government. I'm sure we're going to hear about some of that from the mayor, just as the city's reinventing itself. And it is really remarkable how our city's reinventing itself. In jobs and population and all kinds of ways, we're becoming a diverse and inclusive and global city. But change has opportunities. It also has challenges. As we've seen, the advantages of growth are not evenly distributed in the city. And the Research Bureau is looking forward to partnering with the city on the issues that we face. Maybe they're good problems, the problems of growth, but
people will take advantage of that opportunity. So please join me now in giving a warm Boston Municipal Research Bureau reception and welcome to the Mayor of the great city of Boston, the Honorable Martin J. Walsh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to first of all thank you, Tom, and congratulations to Tom on your new role here. And I also want to thank Matt for your service to the Research Bureau and also what you've done. I want to thank Diane for your great work as well. We still got 4 months with you, so you know your retirement isn't here till June. So don't go do anything. Don't go anywhere on us. And I want to thank Sam. Sam Tyler is a person that when I met him the first time he came in, and you know they're kind of the fiscal watchdog for the city of Boston, and when we do things, you know, we run things by Sam. At first we didn't do it all the time, and we paid for a little bit, but I was listening to the report today, and I was a little surprised to see that, you know, Sam didn't call us to let us know that he was expanding the board here at the Bureau, so we have to sit down and talk about that, the fiscal responsibility of that move. We don't want you padding roles here at the Bureau. We want to make sure they're good roles. But I want to thank you, Sam, for everything that you do as well, honestly, and the whole team at the Bureau. Thank you very much. I'd like to start with just an announcement today. And we learned yesterday that for the 4th year in a row, the city of Boston received a perfect AAA bond rating from both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. These ratings reward strong fiscal management by maximizing our access to capital. This doesn't happen by accident. 3 years ago, in my first address to this Bureau, I made a commitment to a data-driven performance in city government. We started in 2014 by installing data dashboards and using metrics at our cabinet meetings. In 2015, we formed a citywide analytic team to drive innovation across all of our different departments. In January of 2016, we took another step with the level with CityScore, a groundbreaking management system that has earned international attention. As a direct result of these efforts, in the last year alone, just a few stats, we've increased fire trucks that arrive in under 4 minutes by 4%. We've increased traffic signals repaired within 24 hours by 10%. And we've increased 311 calls answered within 30 seconds to 92%. Data is improving our performance, saving us money, and even saving lives. Last year, I noticed on the CityScore dashboard that's in my office, for several days in a row, I saw the ambulance response time numbers were in the red. That means below the standard we set. I called up Chief Hooley, who's here today, and I asked the EMS, the analytic team, and the budget office to look at these issues and come up with some solutions. The result was that in the fiscal 2017 budget, we decided to hire 20 additional EMTs and buy 10 new ambulances. We didn't just open up our checkbook, we made a sound investment. We project that overtime costs will be down next year by 10%, and revenue from insurance reimbursement will be up by 8%. That move alone is a net positive impact of more than $3 million to the city of Boston. The most important, people are getting help more quickly. When I look at the dashboard, I saw that number in red, and I didn't see the data. I was thinking about the people having medical crises and their families waiting for that ambulance to show up at their front door. Many of us have been there, and it's been the longest wait of our life. Data-driven describes the tools that we are using to get there faster. But it's more accurate to say that our culture is people-driven and data-smart. This philosophy goes beyond city services. It guides our response to the most pressing policy changes. Consider the issue of economic opportunity. In recent years, income and wealth inequality have moved to the center of this conversation. By one measure, Boston is one of the most unequal cities. We are working to change that. But what we have to do is a way that lifts people up, not just by our numbers. Inequality metrics miss something about our city. For example, we provide a greater share of subsidized housing than any other city in the United States of America. And when we have one of the biggest... And we have one of the biggest college and graduate student populations. If these lower income residents couldn't live here, we might not look like a more equal city. But I submit that without public housing and universities, we'd lose something more. We wouldn't be Boston. The big drivers of inequality are global forces and national policies. Locally, our scope for action is better defined by mobility, the opportunity for people to get ahead in life and achieve financial security. As a people-driven, data-smart city, that's what we devote our energy to advancing. Mobility requires education and job training, housing and transportation, health and quality of life. It's a theme that connects all of our policy work. For example, high rents are one of the biggest obstacles to mobility. God bless you. It seems like every speech I give, somebody sneezes. Thank you. That makes our historic rate of housing production one of the most important mobility strategies. By getting over 19,000 units either built or in construction, we've taken the pressure off existing housing stock where working families live. Average rents were down last year by 4%. New housing has put money back in working people's pockets. For many people, mobility means small business ownership. So we expanded citywide small business support. And today I can announce that we are creating the Business Capital and Finance Unit. It will make loans to small businesses with a minimum set aside for historically underserved neighborhoods and people. We're going to help more entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. Above all, upward mobility today requires education. Public schools are the foundation of opportunity of our society. That's why in the last 3 years we have prioritized data-smart reforms that close opportunity gaps and elevate all of our students. The data shows that 5-year-olds with a child savings account are more likely to enroll in college or job training after high school. So we created accounts for kindergartners starting in 5 schools in the city. The data shows that more learning time improves students' achievement. So we extended the school day for K through 8 students, adding a total of 120 hours, or the equivalent of 20 days per school year. The data shows that children of color are tracked out of highest academic pathways as early as elementary school. So we're expanding access to rigorous curriculum in grades 4 through 6, as well as exam schools test prep. And the data shows that debt-free paths into college increase students' enrollment. So we secured free college tuition for eligible BPS graduates at 3 community colleges. Finally, the data shows that there is no more proven educational investment than high-quality pre-kindergarten. Public pre-K means the world to families who want to give their kids the best possible start in school. The data backs this up. But it tells us that the impact depends on high-quality classrooms with well-trained teachers. Multiple studies have shown that the Boston Public School program is a gold standard. It closes the achievement gap through 3rd grade, and for students lucky enough to get a seat. But no child in our city should have to depend on luck for an equal shot at a good education. That's why we've increased enrollment by more than 700 students already in 3 years. And that's why we've designed a plan to provide universal access to pre-existing revenues from tourism taxes levied here in the city of Boston. I want to take a minute to thank Speaker DeLeo for making high-quality early education a priority this legislative session in the House. The Speaker's Business Advisory Commission found that high-quality pre-kindergarten increases the likelihood of a student will graduate high school by 31%. It increases the probability of a student that will attend college by more than 80%. Boston is ready and able to help the Commonwealth act on this data. I offer my support and my partnerships to the legislature for forging a plan to give children that strong start they need and they deserve. We are building seamless education pipelines for every student from cradle to career. The results so far have been positive. High school graduation rates went up by 2% last year to a historic peak of 72.4%. But we still have years of hard work ahead of us to get where we really need to be. In the long view, a big limiting factor looms before us. It's the infrastructure. Consider this. 2/3 of our school buildings were built before World War II. That means they're 80, 90, 100 years old or more. Only half of those have ever been renovated. It's been generations since we've had a full-scale construction cycle that was in place. Just as important as their condition is their design. 20th century buildings don't have the spaces or the systems to support 21st century learning. Too many of our schools look like the old St. Margaret's Grammar School that I went to, Frank Bacon went to, and Isra Sabi went to. We all went there. The sisters did a great job, but the desks were all front-facing towards the chalkboard, and the technology sat in the AV room on the second floor. That won't cut it today. Today's model classrooms are active, student-centered, accessible spaces connected to the worlds of knowledge far beyond their walls. They look like innovative colleges and workplaces we want our students to be ready for, many of the workplaces that you have. Boston is a global hub for technology innovation. We know that. But our classrooms must prepare our students to thrive in this world. That's why I'm proud to say, over the next 10 years, we will invest $1 billion in the facilities of the Boston Public Schools. Thank you for that clap. I was losing my voice. Today, we release a report that guides that investment called Build BPS. Build BPS took a deeper dive than ever before into the facilities where our 56,000 students learn. We found that our current buildings can house about 69,000 students if we do nothing to update the space or the curriculum. But if we provide every student with a full range of resources like libraries and art rooms and STEM labs and gyms, the current capacity would be just under 56,000 students. All of this talk about schools, I'm going to say right now, if we need anything for our schools, we need more space for our schools. The challenge is not a history of declining enrollment, it's a history of neglect. That's why Build PPS will more than double our typical capital allocations for schools. We're able to do this for two reasons. First, our perfect bond rating unlocks unprecedented access to capital. Second, we have forged the city's first strong working relationship with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The MSBA is the agency set up by the Commonwealth to help fund public school capital projects. Boston is a leading source of the sales tax that funds the MSBA. Since 2004, $1 billion has been generated in our city that has funded new schools in the suburbs and all across the Commonwealth. But despite being the agency's biggest funder, and despite having the state's biggest school district, Boston never really drew in a significant way from the MSBA funds. Starting in 2014, we changed that. We focused on Boston's next flagship school, the Dearborn 6 through 12 STEM Academy in Roxbury. This is a project that the local community wanted for years. We moved it forward by allocating $36 million in city funds and securing a matching amount from the Mass School Building Authority. And we made the community a partner in this progress. And we agreed that the Dearborn should keep its identity and its students as it expands from a 6 to 8 middle school to a 6 to 12 high school in the city of Boston. And we overcame bureaucratic obstacles by standing alongside and together with this vision. As a result, the Dearborn STEM Academy will complete construction this year and open for our students in 2018. It proves that we can get beyond the status quo because better schools are worth fighting for. We also restarted projects for the Boston Arts Academy and the Quincy Upper School, along with the $23 million in repairs we updated through citywide upgrades. In total, the $61 million in support we have tapped since 2014 is more than the entire amount the city's received from the MSBA in the 10 years prior to that. In the next 10 years, Build PBS will combine a $730 million in city bond proceeds, and we'll have a target of at least $270 million in matching funds from the MSBA. I look forward to working with the City Council to get the ball rolling with this new capital project and the budget this spring. And I also just want to say one other thing. Many of the workforce of the future that the companies in this room need are going to be educated in the Boston Public Schools. We can't allow another generation of young people not to be able to take advantage of the great opportunities that are happening in our own city. And that's one of the primary reasons behind doing this. And as I talk for... And the foundation of every investment decision will be the educational vision of Dr. Tommy Chang, the Boston Public Schools, and the Boston Public School Committee, informed by the planning principles in BPS, community input, and rigorous data. But as these projects unlock new learning spaces, we want the Boston Public Schools to be free to do what it does best, which is educate our kids. So we will move construction responsibilities, a new school unit, into the city's Public Facilities Department. This unit will be dedicated to building, renovating, and upgrading our schools. It will consolidate resources and expertise that are currently being fragmented. And it will provide a single point of contact for private and public partners. This focus will allow us to finally put schools on a regular investment cycle so they will never be neglected again. Bill BPS is going to transform the process of school buildings in Boston. It's also going to improve the politics. Decisions on which projects to prioritize will never be easy. But the scale of our investment allows us to move forward together as a district. Just as important, we've made transparent engagement and dialogue a central part to this progress. Today's report reflects over a year of community surveys and site visits. Now we'll embark on a new chapter of engagement. Today, in addition to releasing the Build BPS report, we are launching a first-of-its-kind online digital tool, the Build BPS Data Dashboard. This tool is going to allow parents and students and teachers and administrators and everyone to understand the data on their schools and use it to help decide on what comes next. Through the spring and fall, we'll hold community workshops to develop and prioritize the first round of capital investments. As the first rounds of projects move forward, the Build BPS report will be updated. This is going to be a living, breathing document that will reflect the knowledge and innovation in the community. Across the district, teachers and parents and principals are already taking creative steps to modernize schools themselves. 2 weeks ago, I visited the Hernandez K-8 school in Roxbury. Parents and students are raising funds to transform their schoolyard into the kind of innovative outdoor learning space that should surround every single school. I'm happy to announce and say today that in our fiscal 2018 budget, we will allocate the funds needed to complete that project that our parents and our students started. I'm inspired by the vision and the initiative in our schools. We owe it to them to match their spirit and provide the resources they need so they can focus on teaching and learning. So as the long-term Build PPS plan develops, we will help every school in making upgrades they need right now. This year, we're going to launch a $13 million 21st Century School Fund. Every school in our city will have access to the funds for new technology, new furniture, or whatever they need to modernize their learning spaces. One of the planning principles of Build PPS is to create flexible space that will allow our district to meet new potential as our city and our world evolve. But to truly make our schools part of that evolution, it will require permanent, deep connections with the world beyond the school walls. We need every university, hospital, business, and cultural institution in our city to be an extension of our classroom, welcome, inspiring, and changing, and training our students to participate fully in our city's success. To make that vision reality, we put a premium on partnerships. We created Invest BPS, an adopt-a-school program with an easy-to-use online portal. We secured new corporate partners like General Electric and Lego International. We've expanded partnerships through philanthropies like Edvestors and EOS Foundation. And we've grown our summer job program to get young people the experience in the Boston workplaces. By the way, it's the time of my annual appeal. If you're not part of our summer job program already, please email my team at summerjobs@boston.gov to get started. If not, we'll find you. But we can't do this stuff without your help. Moving forward, as we build new learning spaces, we want to strengthen our ability to build new partnerships. So we've created a new post, Managing Director and Senior Advisor of External Affairs. We've appointed the former Boston Public School Chief of Staff, Dr. Makiba McCreary. Makiba has played a key role in implementing. Where are you? Stand up, Makiba. Makiba has played a key role in implementing the Boston Public Schools priority, as well as taking the lead in public-private collaborations. That's the right combination of experience. School partnerships today have to be both about maximizing funding sources and modernizing curriculum. Frankly, I hope that every employer in our city is thinking along the same lines. Good public education just doesn't help our students. By producing a better prepared workforce, it helps employers and strengthens our economy. So I want to appeal directly to the organizations represented here today. Look into partnering with our schools. It doesn't take a massive investment. For as little as $2,500, you can provide a child savings account for an entire kindergarten class. As I said earlier, we started in 5 schools. We have more than 5 schools that provide kindergarten. That's just one example how we welcome employers to be part of strengthening and using your imagination to make our schools better. You will not only improve our student outcome, you could also help us advance the skills needed in your workplace and industry. Check out investbps.org. Better yet, if you want to help us, talk to Makiba before you leave here today. Thank you, Makiba. Let's move forward together as a city whose highest priority is meeting the needs of our young people. I want to close by reminding us what some of those needs look like. Since the White House issued an executive order on immigration, we rallied to safeguard the rights and security of all of our residents. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've talked about the astounding impacts of immigrants on our economy, from 2/3 of our life sciences to $4 billion in consumer spending. Tech executives have already told me they're looking more closely at Canada for their next expansion. But I've been thinking about the kids and the teens in our schools. Some have approached me to personally express their fear and anxiety. Remember, 30% of Boston Public School students still are learning English as their second language. 48% have a parent at home who's foreign born. This is nothing new. I was one of those kids. So was Superintendent Dr. Tommy Chang, Chief of Economic Development John Barros, Director of Workforce Development Trin Nguyen, Commissioner of Veteran Services Giselle Sterlings, and other people in my administration in this room. We went home after school to a bilingual immigrant household. Our students today, better than anyone, reflect the extraordinary strength this immigrant experience adds to America. Last year at our annual, some of you were there at our BPS valedictorian luncheon, I sat next to Bilal Lafta of Boston Community Leadership Academy. He was a senior. In his speech, he recalled fleeing from Iraq as a child and living months in a refugee camp. He also reflected on the opportunity he got in the Boston Public Schools and the Boston Public Libraries. He said, and I'm quoting, "It's my family, my teachers, and my community that has given me this freedom, the privilege of living in a safe community that values our education." And he urged all of us to look for ways to give back to that community. He's now studying biomedical engineering at Brown University. There are many more stories in our system like his and across this country. And our students face many other challenges, from poverty and trauma to discrimination and disabilities. Some call these challenges the extra burden of urban education. I call these students the most precious resources. They give us the privilege of living in a city that's constantly renewed by resilient young people from all over the world in each one of our neighborhoods. Their diversity truly is our people-driven strength. Their talent, if we can unlock it through the mobility, is our future. They are why we're investing $1 billion in our schools and moving towards universal pre-kindergarten. And they are the reason, I have no doubt, and no matter what challenges come before us, Boston will continue to thrive, the nation and the world, and lead us forward. I want to say thank you to all of you. God bless the city of Boston, and God bless the United States of America.
As we said earlier, if the mayor is going to stay a few more minutes to answer a few questions, so we have 3 microphones around the room. Just you stand if you want to ask a question, raise your hand so we'll know where you are.
And before you stand, there's a couple of elected officials I want to recognize that were missed in the beginning. State Representative Nick Collins is here. Thank you, Representative. State Representative Aaron Mikowitz is here. Before you sneak out, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron.
I've got a whole bunch of questions, but I don't think the mayor wants. Oh, David.
Winthrop Garage, there's $150 million potential there. Where do you see as a priority the investment of monies like that as they come in on a one-time basis?
Well, I wish we owned more Winthrop garages that didn't cast a shadow in the city. We'd be a lot better off. We don't own a lot of land like that in the city. We really, when you look around, all of the buildings that we own in the city, in the downtown Boston I'm talking about, that would be worth some money, we're using them. We have the Boston Housing Authority in them. We have Court Street. We own our own, obviously, City Hall, our Veteran Service offices. But, you know, there's been a lot of talk about development in the city. And it's important for us. If we want to continue to grow our economy, we have to continue to think of new development. And, you know, Winton Square Garage has caused for some controversy and with the shadow. And we'll work through that, hopefully, and be able to move forward. But we're also in our city preparing for the future, not just today. So one example of that is during the conversation of the Olympics, Whitehead Circle became front and center. We're looking at now and working towards developing Whitehead Circle. My administration will probably never develop Whitehead Circle. But what we're doing is laying down the foundation for the administrations that follow us to be able to continue to expand the growth in the city. Because all the great things that we have in our city happen because we have the financial resources to do what we do. Whether it's the housing numbers we're setting or the infrastructure numbers we're setting or the school things we're doing. So we really have to look at how do we continue to grow economic opportunities in the city of Boston. And I know that didn't quite answer your question, but the backside of that is as we build more opportunity for investment with companies coming into Boston, that's going to grow our tax base. And by growing our tax base, it's going to help us to move forward as a city. The city of Boston is very heavily dependent upon real estate tax, probably too much. But until we can figure out some other sources of revenue, how do we balance that? 67% right now, maybe 68% of our budget is due to real estate tax. We have to figure other ways. We can't just be consistently dependent upon real estate tax. So we're looking and trying to come up with creative ways of how do we move our economy and our budget forward. I know I didn't fully answer your question. If I own more Winter Square garages, I would take that money in one-time expenditures all over the city of Boston. Winter Square Garage, the first investment in that potentially could go to housing developments in East Boston and South Boston and finishing those off. investments in Franklin Park and Boston Common, investments like they haven't seen since the beginning when they first opened, and finally closing the Emerald Necklace. And then after that, we have another $50 million investment that would come if this building were built and sold. We'd have another one-time investment of $50 million to be able to put into other initiatives. So things like that, I mean, we'd love to see those. And those investments aren't recurring costs. So we're able to fix capital, and then we don't have to worry about it again in our budget. We're not adding a new program. We're not building new programs. We're actually doing one-time investments where it's not going to be a burden on the budget for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on how the money will be spent aren't important in this conversation. It's going to be it's going to be the committee that's going to be assembled, and we're in the process right now of working. And Michael Flaherty's here. I think I saw Michael earlier. Michael has filed some legislation along with the council. And President Wu. We're working together on how do we formulate this committee. How does it work? There's a lot of advocates that want to be on this committee, and they want to have a say. And there's only so many seats. So we're trying to sit down on how do we create something that's truly going to represent the three industries that we're talking about, affordable housing, open space, and historic preservation. And I think it's important for us as we move forward. It's really going to depend upon year to year. I think there are going to be some years that we're going to want to make investments in housing and more investments in housing. And there are other years that we might, as a city, make more investments in housing, and we might want to look at historic preservation. A lot of people were excited initially when it passed, and I was as well. And a lot of it was focused on housing. But when you look at our city and the history of our city, we have really neglected, I'm saying this so collectively, a lot of our historical sites in Boston. And I think we owe our history an opportunity to pull those sites up. So I think there's a lot of use. This money is going to go to a lot of good places.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. So this concludes the 85th anniversary annual meeting of the Research Bureau, and thank you for being here, and have a good day.